This right here is the all-new Kia K4, and it is the replacement for the Kia Cerato. And there is no surprise that the K4 is more spacious, it also comes with more technology, and it's also $3,000 to $6,000 more expensive compared with the last model. So in this full detailed review, I'm going to cover everything you need to know. First, a full guide to the model range, options and other key rivals to consider. Then I'm going to move on to the design, the interior, the technology, safety, practicality, the boot space, the powertrain, and of course I'm going to take this out for a drive and end on a final verdict. In Australia, the K4 is launching exclusively as a sedan, but there will be a hatchback coming later this year. Now moving on to the model grades, you have 5 different versions to pick from, and the one I'm featuring in the video is the top spec GT line, and this has a price tag of $42,000 before on-road costs, with options that include 8 external colours. And in terms of rivals, the K4 is the type of vehicle that competes with the Hyundai i30 sedan and the Toyota Corolla hybrid sedan. And finally, a big thank you to Harrigan Motor Group in Vale for supplying me with their K4 demonstrator to film this review. Alright, let's now move on to the design. So the colour of this example is finished off in honeydew, and in terms of key features, up the front, projector LED headlights with LED DRLs, and the design itself looks very similar to the Kia EV5 and some of Kia's latest updated models. Moving lower down, you have an open air section for cooling, and of course being the GT line, additional gloss black trim down on the lower sections. And if you now take a look at the side profile, this particular version sits on 18-inch two-tone gloss black alloy wheels that are finished off with this brushed aluminium effect. In addition to that, there's also gloss black trim across the wheel arches. You also get piano black wing mirrors, plus regular door handles for the driver and passenger. However, for the rear doors, they are hidden within that gloss black trim. And if we now take a look at the rear design, at the back we've got full LED tail lights in the form of this teardrop effect, and the tail lights look very similar to what you get on the Kia EV5. And if we look lower down, gloss black trim in the form of a rear diffuser, additional gloss black trim up the top here, and looking at the boot lid, a flat Kia logo with a GT line badge off to the right hand side. And finally, let me know your feedback of what you guys think of the design. Me personally, I think it definitely stands out whether you think that is good or not, but write down your feedback in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let's now move on to the cabin. So before we climb inside, the K4 has a remote key with remote start function. There is also push button start for the ignition and keyless entry for the doors. And if we start off with the presentation, what a big step up compared with the last generation Cerato. This looks and feels very luxurious. And some of the highlights with this GT line include a free spoke leather wrapped steering wheel that feels very good to grip onto. You also get these white highlights across the cabin and on the seats. You also get a power sunroof, ambient lighting on the dash and on the doors. And in terms of build quality, the door slam feels very solid. You also get soft touch materials up the top here, soft touch materials where you rest your elbow. It does get a bit durable when you look lower down and even on the bottom here, but up the top here, nice and soft, and even where you rest your elbow on the armrests. Next, if we now move on to comfort, the seats are finished off in accented leather. They can also be heated and ventilated, and they feel very comfortable to sit in. And in addition to the driver, there's power lumbar support with seat memory function. The steering also offers manual tilt and reach adjustment. You also get dual zone climate control with a climate panel up the top here, which sometimes can be hard to see behind the steering wheel, but luckily you do have physical buttons down the bottom here. And if you now move on to infotainment, it all runs off this 12.3-inch touchscreen, and overall it is easy to use first go. There's also a volume dial here with physical buttons and buttons on the steering wheel. And moving on to key features, you have inbuilt satellite navigation with 3D mapping, which overall is crystal clear and easy to use. There is also voice control that also syncs within Siri integration. You have an 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. And for media functions, you've got AM, FM, DAB, digital radio, USB music, USB video, and for smartphone mirroring, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless, and that is what it looks like on the screen. And if I go back into the main menu, you have voice memos where you can record personal messages. plus a quiet mode to shut off the rear speakers if you have kids in the car. And if I go into this function, this is your sounds of nature that plays calming music through the speakers. And as you can see, the car is connected, so you've got access to weather, your calendar, and you've also got the ability to connect the car to your smartphone, and as well as an SOS button up the top here to call for help. And if we now move on to safety, you don't get a 360 camera, instead just a reverse view camera, but you can change the different views up the top here. Plus you get front and rear parking sensors, a rear cross traffic alert, and auto dimming rear view mirror up the top here, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring on the wing mirrors, plus safe exit warning, which alerts you if an oncoming car is about to rip your door off, adaptive cruise control with stop and go function, and that keeps your vehicle within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front. There is also a lane keeping assistant with active steering assist, and that means the K4 has the ability to steer itself within its lane. Finally, in the center, speed sign recognition. And if we now move on to this 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, overall it's not really that configurable, but you can cycle between the data in the center to display what you want shown. Next, moving on to the drive modes, you've got a drive selector here, Eco, Normal and Sport. And you've also got a button here that automatically holds the car at a set of traffic lights. And finally, storage. So no sunglasses holder up the top here, but you do get a decent sized glove box, which fits a big bottle of water. You also get a wireless phone charging pad, which is only on this model grade, plus 2 USB-C charging ports and a 12-volt socket. In the center, 2 large cup holders, which you can adjust for not only a big bottle, but a small bottle. There is also decent storage in this center console here. And finally, on the doors, decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. Okay, let's now move on to the back seat. So as you can see, this front row seat is set in my driving position, and I've got decent knee room. Toe room is a little bit tight. Headroom is okay, but anyone over 6 foot tall might struggle a bit. Now, in terms of other key features, we've got directional air vents in the center, 2 USB-C charging ports, 1 matte pocket behind the passenger seat, nothing behind the driver, just some hard plastic and some more hard plastic up the top here. But you do get bottle storage on the doors, which is pretty decent. You've also got some grab handles up the top here with some Kodal hangers. Moving over here, a flip down armrest with 2 small cup holders. And finally, for child seats, the 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me there are 3 top tether points. Let's now move on to boot space. So you have a button up the top here to open the boot, and once that is open, there's 508 litres of boot capacity, and that means you can fit 2 large suitcases or a couple of carry-on suitcases. However, it is worth noting that the boot opening isn't really that wide, and you do have this load lip down the bottom here, which is pretty typical for a sedan. And of course, if you pull down the boot, the hinges do drop down. You can also expand that capacity by pulling on these levers, dropping down the second row seats into a 60-40 split, and finally, underneath the carpet, a space saver spare tyre. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So you have 2 engines to choose from. Models excluding the GT line receive a 2-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, whereas exclusive to the GT line, you get a 1.6-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that develops 142 kilowatts and 265 newton-meters of torque, and this is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, sending its power to the front wheels. And moving on to the ownership, Kia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty and up to 8 years of roadside assistance. And for the servicing, for this 1.6-litre version, it is every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, whereas if you go for the 2-litre version, it is every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres. Okay, moving on to the driving impressions inside the K4. First of all, you've got great vision up the front, decent sized wing mirrors, good side vision. However, rear visibility is a bit small, but overall this is a very easy car to live with every day. And if we now move on to ride comfort, this features Kia's Aussie ride and handling tune. So it soaks up the bumps really nicely, all the sharp edges. It hasn't been tuned to be too soft or too firm. It's a really nice balance. If I did have some complaints about the refinement, it is the tyre roar coming into the cabin. There is hardly any wind noise, but at higher speeds you can hear that tyre roar. I don't know if that has anything to do with the type of tyres this car has been fitted with. But that said, this K4 is a massive improvement when it comes to refinement compared to the previous generation Serato. The steering also offers great feedback, and even the brake pedal feel is nice and progressive and nice and smooth, and that is the same with the accelerator pedal and the gearbox. So I've got it in manual mode, but when you've got it in Eco, it shifts really nicely, much better compared to the old DSG system. Now you've got a couple of drive modes to choose from. Eco, which is the more efficient setting, Normal, which is very similar to Eco, and Sport, so the steering sharpens up, the car feels a bit more responsive, and if I do a light acceleration, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So that is a pretty punchy little 1.6 litre engine. So yes, this gets up to speed very quickly, more than enough power than what anybody needs. I haven't driven the 2 litre yet, but if you are looking for the best driving experience, combined with this gearbox and this turbocharged engine, this is fantastic. The speed sign recognition has been recalibrated, and you can turn that off to turn off that notification sound. That is the same with the driver fatigue monitoring system. Like what we've experienced in previous Hyundai and Kia models, that used to be very annoying, but they have made some changes to that to make it less intrusive. So what is my final verdict? Well, things I don't like. There is a bit of road noise coming into the cabin. Rear space could be a little bit better. And when you do go for this top spec GT line, it is starting to climb up in price, but that is the same problem with every other new car these days. But if I was to go out to buy a small sedan against the Hyundai i30 and the Toyota Corolla Sedan, the K4 would be my pick. But of course, tell me what you think and which would you go for in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, please like my video, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell to stay up to date with my latest uploads, and of course, I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.